The first sound I heard when I woke up was the beeping of a machine. The second sound was silence. Not the peaceful kind. Not the kind you hear on a quiet morning with coffee in your hand and nothing to do. This was the kind of silence that tells you something is deeply, profoundly wrong. The kind of silence that echoes off walls that should be filled with voices. My name is Daniel Carter. I'm 28 years old. I'm a high school biology teacher in a small town in Oregon, and I had just spent 47 days in a coma. 47 days. That's not a number you forget, because when you wake up after 47 days, you don't just open your eyes and smile like it was a long nap. You wake up confused. You wake up scared. You wake up desperately, searching for a familiar face in a room full of strangers in white coats. And you notice things. Small things. Like the fact that your hospital room has exactly one vase of flowers. Wilting. Old. Like they were bought weeks ago and never replaced. Like the fact that your parents' names aren't on the visitor log. Not once. Like the fact that the last thing you remember before the accident is your mother saying, "We'll be there the second you wake up, Daniel. I promise. I'll hold your hand the whole time." I woke up to an empty room. Welcome to Vindication. Get settled because this one is going to hurt. But I promise you, by the end, it's going to feel right. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed. Trust me, you're going to want to see how this ends. Here, let me back up. To understand what happened, you need to understand my family, the Carters. A picture-perfect family from the outside. 2 parents, 2 children, a house in the suburbs, a golden retriever named Gus, and a white picket fence that my father spent every other weekend repainting. My father, Robert Carter, was a successful real estate agent. He shook hands with everyone he met and always asked people about themselves first. People liked him. I liked him. My mother, Susan Carter, was the kind of woman who volunteered at the church bake sale, organized the neighborhood block party, and never missed an opportunity to tell people how proud she was of her children. She remembered birthdays, anniversaries, and the names of everyone I ever brought home for dinner. And then there was my sister, Emma, 2 years younger than me. The golden child. The one who could do no wrong. The one whose dance recitals my parents drove 3 hours to see. Whose college graduation they threw a $5,000 party for. Whose wedding they emptied their savings account to fund. I'm not bitter. I'm just accurate. I was the good son. The quiet one. The one who got good grades without making a fuss. I paid for my own college with scholarships and part-time jobs. I bought my own car. I rented my own apartment. I never asked my parents for a penny, and I was proud of that. I didn't need them for money or status. I just needed them to be there. And for most of my life, they were. They were there at my high school graduation. They were there when I got my teaching certification. They were there for the big things, the visible things, the things that looked good in photos. But when I needed them most, when I was lying in a hospital bed with tubes in my arms and a machine breathing for me, they were in Disneyland. Let me tell you about the accident. It was a Tuesday, November 12th, 3:47 in the afternoon. I was driving home from school. I was stopped at a red light on Highway 26, the intersection of Oak and Main. I remember because I used to tell my students that Oak and Main was the most dangerous intersection in town. I used to warn them. I didn't watch out. The driver who hit me was texting. He was 19 years old. He never saw the red light. His truck hit my driver's side door at 55 miles per hour. The impact was so severe that my car flipped twice and landed in a ditch. I don't remember any of it. That's the strange thing about trauma. Your brain just shuts off. I don't remember the sound of the metal crushing. I don't remember the paramedics cutting me out of the car. I remember waking up 47 days later. The doctors told me I had a traumatic brain injury, swelling on the brain, bleeding in the temporal lobe, fractures in my skull. They had to put me in a medically induced coma. They weren't sure I was going to wake up. They told my parents it was 50-50. That there was a chance I wouldn't recognize anyone, that there was a chance I wouldn't talk again, that there was a chance I wouldn't be Daniel anymore. They had to make decisions, life and death decisions, and my parents made the decision to leave. I found out later that my mother called my brother-in-law the night of the accident, my sister's husband, Mark. She was sobbing on the phone, saying, "He's going to die, Mark. Daniel is going to die. I'll fly out tomorrow, Mark told her. I'll be there. No, my mother said. Stay with Emma. She needs you. That was the first sign. The one no one noticed. The one that should have made my sister stop and say, Wait, Mom, what are you doing? But she didn't. No one did. The next day, my parents flew to the hospital in Portland. They spent exactly one night in the ICU waiting room. One night. They stayed long enough to make it look like they cared. Long enough to tell the nurses they were devastated. Long enough to tell the doctors to do everything you can. And then they left. But here's the thing. They didn't just leave. They had a plan. A beautiful, elaborate plan that made them feel better about themselves. My sister had been planning a trip to Disneyland for months. A family vacation to celebrate her promotion. Her husband, their 2 kids, and my parents. A big, happy, extended family trip. And they decided to go anyway. Not because they didn't care about me. They convinced themselves that sitting in a hospital room watching me sleep was wasting time. That my mother's mental health required a vacation. That Emma's children had been looking forward to this for months. They called it honoring the plan. My sister called it making the best of a terrible situation. I call it abandonment, dressed up in denial. Here's what they did. Every single day, for 47 days, they went to Disneyland. They took pictures in front of the castle. They smiled. They ate churros. They waved at Mickey Mouse. My mother posted photos on Facebook with captions like, making memories with the family, and sometimes you just need a little magic to get through hard times. Hard times. My hard times. While I was lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to machines that were literally keeping me alive, my mother was writing, make memories, captions on vacation photos. And the worst part? She sent the photos to the hospital, to the nurses. She asked them to show them to Daniel when he wakes up so he can see we're thinking of him. A photo of my sister and her children smiling in front of Cinderella's castle was supposed to let me know I was loved. I woke up to an empty room. But I also woke up to a text message, a group chat. My mother had sent a photo to the entire family of my sister holding a Mickey Mouse ice cream bar with the caption, Wish you were here! Daniel! We'll bring you a souvenir! A souvenir! I was in a coma. My brain was swollen. My skull was fractured. I might never walk or talk again. And my mother was offering me a souvenir. When I woke up on December 29th, I didn't know what day it was. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know who I was for about 30 seconds. The first thing I saw was the ceiling. White ceiling tiles with tiny holes. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the beeping of the heart monitor, the rhythmic hiss of the ventilator. I tried to speak. Nothing came out, just a raspy croak. The nurse was at my side in seconds. A young woman named Maria, kind eyes, gentle hands. She held a cup of water to my lips. You're awake, she whispered. You're okay. You've been asleep for a long time. I blinked. Asleep. That's what she called it. Like I'd been taking a nap. Where is? I croaked. Maria looked away for just a second. A tiny flicker. That was the moment I knew something was wrong. Your parents will be so happy, she said. I'll call them right away. She left. I looked around. The room was empty. No flowers. No balloons. No cards. Just me, my machines, and a chair in the corner that looked like it had never been used. The chair was empty. It had been empty for 47 days. Later, Maria came back. She handed me a phone. My mother's voice on the other end, crackling through the speaker. Daniel! Oh my God! Daniel! Thank God! I knew you would wake up. Where were you? I asked. My voice was still weak. A pause. Just a second. We had a trip planned, honey. We were in Disneyland. Disneyland! It was already booked. Months ago. We couldn't cancel it. The kids were so excited. And you were stable. The doctors said you were stable. We were thinking about you every day. We took pictures. We wanted you to feel like you were there with us. I didn't say anything for a long time. Daniel? Are you still there? I'm in a hospital bed, I said quietly, with tubes in my arms. And you were in Disneyland. Daniel, don't be bitter. We love you. How long were you there? How long was I asleep? 47 days. They visited me once, for 2 hours, and then they left. The next few days were a blur of tests and physical therapy. My parents came home from Disneyland on New Year's Eve. They drove straight to the hospital. My mother walked in with a giant teddy bear and a bag of souvenirs. My father stood in the doorway. He looked guilty. "We brought you a stuffed Minnie Mouse," my mother said. "We're here now." I looked at the Minnie Mouse, at my mother's forced smile, at the doorway where no one else was standing. No sister, no brother-in-law, no nieces. "Where's Emma?" I asked. "She's tired from the flight. She'll come see you tomorrow." She came 3 days later, and when she walked in, she was wearing Disneyland ears, a goofy hat, like it was a joke. "Hey, little brother," she said. "You look terrible." "Thanks. Come on, I'm joking. You look great. All things considered, what were you doing in Disneyland?" She rolled her eyes. "Oh, don't start. The trip was already booked. The kids were excited. It wasn't like we could just cancel everything." "Yes," I said. "You could have. You could have canceled." She blinked. She didn't expect me to push back. "Daniel, come on. It was hard. We were worrying about you the whole time. Doesn't sound like it. I was in a coma, and you were eating churros in front of a castle. Don't be dramatic. Show me the photos." "What?" "Show me the family photos from Disneyland. Show me you not having a good time." She didn't show me. She left. She said I was being unreasonable and cruel. Live their lives, while I was fighting to live mine. You know who showed up? Not my parents. Not my sister. My nurse, Maria, who stayed late every shift. Who held my hand during my panic attacks. Who told me I was going to be okay. And my neighbor, Mrs. Anderson, the old lady who lived next door. The one I only ever saw watering her petunias. She heard about the accident. She found out I was in the hospital. And she came. Every single day. For 47 days. She didn't have a car. She took the bus. 2 buses. A 45-minute ride each way. She brought me crossword puzzles. She didn't know if I would even wake up. She brought them anyway. She just sat by my bed and read aloud to me because she knew I couldn't talk yet. She wasn't family. She was just a neighbor. And she showed up. My parents were in Disneyland. Do you see the contrast? The universe has a way of showing you exactly who people are. Who is willing to sit in discomfort with you, and who is only interested in showing up when it's easy. I asked Mrs. Anderson once, "Why?" "You barely know me." She patted my hand. "Because someone should. Because everyone deserves to know that someone is thinking about them. 47 days of a sweet old lady on the bus, and not one single visit from my sister. I didn't say anything at first. I just sat there staring at the plastic Minnie Mouse. It wasn't about the toy. It was about the message. The message was that I didn't matter. I was optional." A few days later, I got my phone back, and I found the group chat with my entire extended family. I scrolled through all the messages I had missed. Day 1, "Daniel is in the hospital. They don't know if he's going to make it. Please pray." Day 2, "We're going to take a trip to Disneyland. The kids need this. Please don't judge us." Day 3, a photo of my sister and her kids in front of Main Street, USA. Day 4, a video of my nieces meeting Elsa. They were meeting princesses while I was fighting to keep my brain from swelling. Day 5, the "Wish You Were Here" caption, the ice cream bar, the souvenir. I didn't say anything in the group chat, but my mother knew. She started texting me privately, furious, accusing me of causing drama. "You don't understand, Daniel. You don't have children. You're right," I replied. "I've never had to explain to my children why I abandoned my other child while they were fighting for their life. I don't understand that kind of decision." She stopped texting after that. 2 weeks later, I was discharged. I went home. Mrs. Anderson had cleaned my apartment, bought groceries, put flowers on my kitchen table. "You didn't have to do this. Someone should. That's what people do. They show up." She said it so simply. I realized I had spent my entire life showing up for people who wouldn't show up for me. I had paid for my sister's wedding. I had given my parents $1,000 when their car broke down. I had dropped everything to drive 4 hours to pick up my sister when her car broke down. I had always been there, and no one had been there for me. The doctors told me later that my mother had actually put a block on calls. She had asked them to only call if I was dying. She said it was too painful to get updates every day, so the nurses stopped calling. And I lay there, alone, for weeks. That's not something you forget. That's something that rewrites everything you thought you knew about love. The first time I saw my family after the hospital was at my grandmother's house, Easter Sunday, 3 months after the accident. My grandmother was the only one who seemed to understand. She called me every day. She cried with me on the phone. She said, "I know what they did, and I am so sorry." I drove to her house using a walker. My parents were in the driveway. My sister's car was parked on the street. My mother came up to me right away. "Daniel, you don't understand. It was a vacation. It was planned. It was for Emma's kids." I held up my hand. She stopped. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just opened my phone, showed her the photo in front of the castle, the Mickey ears, the churro, the "wish you were here" caption. "Explain this to me," I said quietly. "Explain this like I'm 5. She tried again. "Daniel, the kids, Emma's kids. Mom, the kids. My nieces. The ones I babysat. The ones I showed up for." She shut up. "They asked if I was going to be okay?" No answer. "Did you even tell them?" My father stepped in. "Daniel, they're young. We didn't want to scare them. So you told them I was fine?" "They were happy in Disneyland," I laughed. A hollow sound. "Happy. They were happy. I'm sorry," my mother said. "No, you're sorry you got caught. You're sorry I'm still alive to ask questions." She flinched. My sister glared at me. The argument that followed was loud. My sister said I was being too dramatic. My father accused me of holding grudges. My mother cried about how no one understood how hard this was for her. Her. The word that had been the theme of my entire life. For her needs, her feelings, her experience. "So," I said finally, "you made a decision." I had to figure out what that meant for me. My sister's voice was cold. "That was months ago, Daniel. Get over it. That was my sister. The one who met princesses while I was meeting death, telling me to get over it." I turned away, walked back to my car. My grandmother stood by the door. She didn't say anything. She just watched. She knew who was in the wrong. I decided it was time to stop showing up for people who wouldn't show up for me. I changed my emergency contact. I took my mother's name off the forms. I put Mrs. Anderson's name, the old lady next door, the one who took the bus. I wrote a letter to my entire extended family. I'm okay. I'm alive. But the people who left me to wake up alone are not welcome to pretend they were there. My mother called, screaming, crying. "How dare you cut us off? We're family. Normalcy," I repeated. I was in a coma. My brain was bleeding. My skull was fractured. And you were trying to keep normalcy. What I lost that day was everything I thought I had. And in its place was nothing. Don't say that. It's not bitterness. It's clarity. Months later, they tried to make amends. They invited me to Christmas. My mother sent a letter. My sister sent a text. "Come, Daniel. Let's just try to be normal again." I didn't answer, because I knew they would do it again. Next time there was a crisis, they would find another excuse. Another Disneyland. Another trip. I don't talk to them much anymore. A happy birthday text, maybe. A nod in a grocery store. But the bond is gone. The trust is shattered. You can't prove something so vividly and still expect people to pretend it didn't happen. My grandmother said, "They'll miss the real you." She was right. They lost me before I woke up. There was a moment in the hospital where Maria came to check on me. I was crying. In the dark, she came in, held my hand, and said, "They don't show up because they don't deserve you." Sometimes what we think is abandonment is actually the universe's way of saving us. I walked away because I had to, not because I didn't love them, because I did. But love means knowing your worth. Love means not lying down while people walk over you. My parents took my sister to Disneyland while I was in a coma, but they didn't take me. That's fine. I found my own castle to defend. Loyalty and love deserve a legacy. If you enjoyed this story, join our community by hitting that like button and subscribing for more real, raw, and family stories right here on Vindication. I will see you on the next one.